That I must begin these reminiscences with a description of myself and my origins is a necessity that runs contrary to both my character and my upbringing. My editor, however, tells me that my readers will wish to know how a man of my unremarkable public reputation came to be associated with so extraordinary a person as the sorceress Shaharazad Haas. I shall endeavour, therefore, to assuage your curiosity by outlining a little of my early life, particularly the circumstances that led to my arrival in Khelathra-Ven, and to my falling into company with the woman who would become my most trusted confidant and truest friend. I was born in the kingdom of E, during the 467th year of the reign of the Witch King Justinian. My earliest memory of childhood is being summoned to sing "Alas, must I in torments dwell" for one of my parents' friends. Such gatherings were frequent at that time, and I never thought to question their purpose, though they occurred always after nightfall and were conducted with an air of peculiar secrecy. In any case, I performed poorly, and my father was disappointed, as he so often was. As for my father himself, I will simply say that he was a man of strong principles and unswerving faith. He fought valiantly for his beliefs, and unlike so many of his contemporaries, practiced in private what he espoused in public. Although his role in the Revolution and subsequent part in the formation of the Commonwealth afforded him great power and influence, we continued to live simply and spend our days in contemplation of the Creator's mercy and thankfulness for his blessings. While I cannot say his stewardship brought much joy to his children, I am none the less grateful for many of the lessons he taught me. While some would argue that this world has little use for humility, loyalty, and diligence, I have found them to be constant sources of strength. But to my shame, I have not the serenity to be thankful to him for his efforts to instill in me the virtues he felt becoming of his daughter. To this day, I am not sure how I would have endured my childhood, were it not for my mother. She shared many traits with my father, including his revolutionary fervour and his unyielding resolve, but she leavened them with kindness. It was of her devising that I was sent to the honoured University of Kell at the age of 16, and it was there that I received my bachelor's degree in transubstantial sciences and was able to be, for the first time, myself, John Wyndham. Following my graduation, I made one attempt to return home. Although I had been away only 4 years, the Commonwealth and I had both changed significantly. I had left a kingdom unsettled from revolution and still bearing the wounds of 5 centuries of tyranny. I returned to a nation in the midst of renewal. Thomas Latimer, the man for whom I had sung so badly so long ago, had been appointed Lord Protector and established an advisory council known as the Chamber of Regicides. My father's disappointment in me, however, was unchanged. It quickly became apparent to me that my future did not lie in E. Centuries of fear, followed by a decade of transformation, had left the people of the Commonwealth unwelcoming of anything that seemed to them foreign or mysterious, and I, with my varsity ways and my Kellish habits, was both. Ironically, in Khelathra-Ven I had always been too provincial, my friends mocking me for my prudishness and my adherence to my father's faith. Despite my having long since learned, the Creator was likely little more than a mindless ball of protoplasmic fire that dwelt in a dead star at the heart of the cosmos. Thus it was I came again to Khelathra-Ven, and like so many outcasts before me, sought refuge with the company of strangers, that queer but valiant battalion of soldiers founded some 2 centuries past under the joint auspices of the Kaiserin of the 100 Kingdoms and the Uthmani Sultan. It was rare indeed for those 2 great powers to agree overmuch on anything, but the existential peril presented by the forces of the Empress of Nothing demanded a united response, and the company was structured in such a way that it could owe no loyalties, and thus would never be distracted from the conflict that rages from the unending gate. I believe most people, or at least most people who are familiar with such matters, know at least a little about that ceaseless war. They know, for example, that it takes place primarily across a kaleidoscope of ever-shifting, otherworldly battlefields, and that our enemy is by her very nature unknowable and unconquerable. They may even be aware that the conflict has its origins in the events surrounding the fall of ancient Ven. None of those facts, to my mind, are pertinent. My experiences during my time with the company of strangers are difficult for me to describe, and I do not think they would make for edifying reading. I will not, therefore, attempt to describe them.